Welcome to the Myself Wellness Podcast. I'm Charles Patti, the voice of Myself Wellness, along with my co-hosts Christina Thomas and Jamie Venziel. 9 years ago, I began my journey to self-awareness and healing. Like many who have faced personal struggles, I felt lost and struggled to find lasting healing. It wasn't until I discovered alternative healing methods that I began to see a real change in my life. This show will help you unlock your true potential through healthy lifestyle practices and transformations. Join us as we explore personal stories, expert advice, and practical tips to help you step into your true potential and level up. Welcome to the Myself Wellness Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Myself Wellness Podcast. Today we have Roderick Washington with us. Roderick is actually Charles's stepbrother. And so it's going to be a super interesting show. We're going to go over all about their childhood together, what Charles was like, what Roderick was like. And then Roderick actually came to Myself Wellness for treatments. And so his journey going through that.
Yeah, no, it
should be a super interesting episode and get some juicy dirt on Charles.
Not that there isn't enough out there. I guess we could always use some more.
We're gonna go way back.
Reveal some about myself.
So I guess let's start it off. What was it like when you guys first met? How old were you both?
13.
Yeah.
13. Like our parents started dating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just one of those things where, two kids, parents separated, divorced, and kind of just get thrown into the house together and say, hey, you guys get along. And this time it worked.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you get along at first?
It was from day one.
From day one, it was awesome. We were like just like best friends back then, and doing everything together and stuff. So
honestly, Charles was like my best friend before I knew what having a best friend was. I bounced around a lot as a youth, so I only had friends for, a few years at a time. Mm. So when me and Charles got together, our stories just clicked and we clicked, and you talking about inseparable. Yeah.
Your dad was a police officer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how was that?
So that was interesting.
To say the least.
I'll be transparent and tell a story. The first time I met Willie, Roderick's dad, I was selling cannabis when I was a kid. And so I was actually upstairs in my bedroom and I was breaking down a 1/4 pound of weed, right? And I was bagging it up and everything and stuff. And
what happens when you admit to a crime after?
This is
statute of limitations.
Yeah, this is statute of limitations. No, but I'm bagging this stuff up, and then all of a sudden I lived upstairs and I could see out into the cars kind of pulling in or whatever. And I heard the front door open. So of course, I ran over to the window to see what was going on, and there was a state trooper car sitting downstairs. And I'm like, oh no, man, what do I do? Because there was no way I could start flushing all of that stuff or whatever. And then all of a sudden I heard my mom go, hey, Charles, I want you to come downstairs and meet my new boyfriend. And I was just like, oh, man, okay. And that was how that all started. And then it wasn't long after that I met Roderick, and we hung out and we really just hit it off and started, kind of running around and doing the same things together. And
yeah, I mean, we my childhood, I wasn't really around cannabis, weed, or anything, for the most part, because I wasn't sheltered, but I wasn't, just out and about. You know what I mean? There was school, there was football, there was home. So during that time, my dad was actually becoming, a little bit more relaxed because he was happy. So he kind of introduced me to Charles, and me and Charles we just clicked on every level. He had my back, I had his back. He knew what I was going through, you know what I mean? With that whole separation situation, divorce. And he was there for me in ways he probably still doesn't know.
I appreciate that, man. I love you, bro.
Honestly.
Yeah, man. So,
what's your favorite childhood memory of one another. What is the most memorable
remember?
story that you have? So I always get top level, but like, let's get into it.
Oh man. Well, it's with us. It's like you get like story arcs. You never get the whole story. Just what happened.
There was so many memorable situations that we could get into.
Oh yeah.
He was really like my brother. You know, like I mean, I know we were stepbrothers, but it's just like it was that instantaneous bond where we just did everything together. Man.
Yeah.
We went everywhere together. We went to the mall together.
We just hung out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like, today's youth where you got screen time and stuff like that. Like it was, we wake up, hey, let's get going.
Yeah.
It's summertime.
What does get going mean?
We went out and hung out at the mall together. We'd go around smoking weed together all day. Hung out with all the same people. We used to run in packs back then. So there was like 6 or 8 people or whatever, and we'd all be
terrifying.
Up to no good together. It was kind of terrifying.
You meet at someone's house one day or another, and the pack would just move from spot to spot throughout the day. And by the end of the night,
Hellions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, listen, like we were always
Bunch of little Charles
looking for whose parents weren't home so we could go hang out over there and do nefarious things, end up drinking or something like that. There was a lot of partying. It always was. And then we go out and run out and try to chase girls together and stuff like that and everything.
And typically it was the summertime too. So, we had time to do it.
Yeah.
It was not like we didn't have jobs. We didn't have to go to school. So we basically had like 2 months to just rip and run. And I was down here part-time for the summer. So for me, it was like a chance to kind of come home and see my boy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be looking forward to it so much every time you would come back down. It's like,
Where were you living?
Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah, after my parents got divorced, my mom moved back to Jacksonville, which is where she was from. So ended up moving back there over the summer between 8th and 9th grade.
we were like, back then, like we were recreationally using psychedelics and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And so we were eating a lot of acid together and taking ecstasy and stuff like that. And it was like, it was just a big party, but like, it wasn't completely like out of control like it ended up getting later on in my life. It was more like fun and recreational. So like back then there were actually a lot of good times that were attached to all of this stuff.
Yeah, back when you still got the giggles, you know?
Yeah. I remember, I hope you don't get mad at me for saying this, man.
Oh my God.
One time we were at this guy Tony's house, and it was like Christmas Eve or it was like, I don't know, it was right around the holidays or whatever. And we had gel tabs back then, which were like gelatin hits of acid.
Oh yeah.
And
oh my.
We took some before we went to this guy's party at his house, and we were tripping so hard, and there was a lot of drinking going on that night. And Roderick like disappeared into the bathroom, and all of a sudden we heard a big bang, and like we were like, "What's going on?" And we opened up the bathroom door, and Roderick punched a hole like this big in the wall in Tony's bathroom, and he's just standing there like. It's crazy.
Completely out of my mind.
Like it was nuts, man. We used to get into a lot of crazy stuff, and like, you know.
Yeah, but it was as crazy as it sounds, as drug induced as it may seem. We were just kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we were just kids. The downside of doing all that hadn't hit yet. Like we didn't have anybody who was, strung out.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we were all just having fun.
We were 16 when that happened.
I was going to ask, how long did this go on for? So you met when you were 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend?
No.
Yeah.
We're going to see Monster Truck.
It was constant.
Yeah, as we got older, like I started leaning more into football and sports.
Yeah.
So 16, 17, like junior, senior year of high school, I was taking sports a little bit more seriously, looking at scholarships and things like that. still ripping and running, but I just kind of had to put a cap on how far I was able to go.
Rod came from a family full of athletes, and he's a natural athlete. I mean, like, if you look at him, yeah, he's still in incredible shape. And so his older brother, Willie, went and played football in college at Purdue.
Yeah.
And then Rod ended up going to Alabama.
I went to Tuskegee. In Alabama.
Yeah, Tuskegee. And he ended up playing college ball there. And so, like, when Rod was getting more involved in going after the scholarships and playing more football and stuff like that, he was less active in the kind of nefarious ruckus that we were getting into.
Well, and that was sort of like where you were starting to go down, right? And then I went
the complete opposite direction. I went full force into it.
And Charles he would protect me from it at times. You know what I mean? Like there was just like, nope, not getting that. No, you know what I mean? Like kind of, cause I was still running around with my boy and we're just being kids. But like you said, we were spending more and more more time apart because I was doing more sports back in Jacksonville. Summers got shorter, so I wasn't able to come back as long as I was. So yeah, it was just that time, and then our parents started to split. So there was just that time where we were both still dealing with what we were dealing with when we were together. But like I still had my demons, I still had my doubts, he still had his demons, his doubts, everything that he was fighting.
He has a lot of demons.
Not so much anymore.
Not anymore.
Had.
I said had.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, like we were spending less time together, but we still kind of I still needed him because he was there for me, like I say, during a really dark time. Like I kind of flipped the switch when my parents went through the divorce because I wasn't ready. I had a whole life planned here in Naples. And then boom, I'm in Jacksonville. So that right there was kind of like I was dealing with a lot mentally, but didn't even really know it.
Yeah.
So
that must be hard.
Yeah, I was able to lean in Charles and just have someone who understood where I was because he had been through it, he had gone through it, and could just be there with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because like Rod and I were having a heart-to-heart not long ago, and he was like, I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you. He's like, because like when I wasn't here and you kind of went like really far down the other path, and I'm like, bro, I'm glad you weren't here, man. Because the thing is that we were so inseparable, is that he stopped coming around so much right when I started getting into oxys and opiates really badly. And like, he wasn't really there for that part of it. Like maybe just like the very beginning of it.
Yeah, the introduction.
And then he was gone and he like left again or whatever. And then I kind of just went full force in that direction. And I'm glad he wasn't around for all of that because we were so inseparable that he probably might have got pulled in that direction as well.
Yeah. I mean, more than likely because we like.
But you had a lot more structure in your life though, being an athlete and playing sports. Charles, I feel like, was on the opposite end of that and didn't really have that
except
structure.
For when we were together though, we were the same. It was like inseparable.
that was the thing that a lot of people didn't realize. Like I was an athlete, he wasn't, but we were fighting the same demons.
Yeah,
like we were fighting those loneliness, the doubt. You know what I mean? Just trying to numb the pain, just trying to just have some fun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because when the music stops, shit gets real.
For sure. So tell me, man, like, or tell the audience basically, like, like when we reconnected, like.
Was that at Disney on Ice? That was when we saw you last.
It was before.
Or the first
that was
time.
when
that was when I met you, was Disney on Ice.
That was, I think, when Christina might have met you. Yeah. No, we had seen each other a couple times before then.
Yeah. When did we reconnect when I moved down here?
When did you move back? Like, how long were you gone for, and when did you move back?
I moved back to this area in 2013.
Okay.
So
sometime.
Yeah, I was gone from 96. We moved back to Jacksonville and was back and forth through high school for summers. But after 99, 2000, like it was sparingly because I was off in college after that. So, but like we've reconnected in the best way, because I did miss Charles.
I missed you too,
I
man.
missed him. You know what I mean? Like I said, he was my friend before I knew what a lifelong friend was. You know,
I
love
want
that.
let me redirect my question. How was life when you ended up going to college for football, and then what was it like after that?
going to college was a dream. That was an absolute dream. My childhood, my late childhood, it shaped me because, like I say, weed, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, yes, it was present, and I'm getting off track here.
It's okay.
Going to college was easy and hard because I was forced to really grow up and find my own likes and dislikes. Because since me and Charles had met, I was introduced to things that I was like, okay, I like this. I like the way I feel when I do this. I like the way I feel when I do that. Now I was kind of just not on my own, but yeah, kind of just out there like, okay, now what do you like without being influenced? You know what I mean? And I was actually lost for a long time. I was lost for a while in college, which...
I think that's a story of a lot of people, though.
Yeah,
You know?
They
That
politely
age.
asked me not to return to Tuskegee. Politely. But because I was just... I needed help. I needed a lot of help. Mental help. Like, how do I... Like I say, I was talking to Charles, I had a chip on my shoulder, and it was just... I mean, it was enormous. I was always ready to go off, ready to get into the scuffle. And it was... I carried that all the way through college. All the way through college into my adulthood. You know what I mean? And honestly... I kept experimenting with psychedelics throughout, but it wasn't for a healing purpose. It was for a numbing purpose. So kind of like missed the mark on what I was trying to do for myself.
Yeah.
Your intention.
Yeah. Intention. Intention was to just forget and go rather than deal with and move on.
What ultimately brought you to come and see us to try the treatment?
Charles. Reconnecting with him, seeing the change and transformation that I mean, we're talking about patient zero.
Yeah. I mean, 'cause he had a lot of that anger too.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because like Roderick, and I joke with him, but it's the truth. I'm like, ever since we were kids, I'm like, you're a big teddy bear, bro. Like he really is. He's got such a good heart and he's such a good person. And then there's that side of Roderick. And then there's the other side of Roderick where it's like, if you go the wrong direction with Roderick, it's the complete other end of the spectrum where it's like he turns into a savage grizzly bear, and that was like, and like, I mean, like I could relate to that with my own self, but Roderick was a force to be reckoned with. And like that uncontrollable anger, I mean, at times, and I experienced that myself. And I think when we were first connecting again, like everything was good. Rod was like, he's, training people, he's doing all the stuff that he's still doing now, but he was just like, man, he's like, sometimes he's like, I really still fly off the handle. I still really I can't get in touch with my anger. I have, some stuff going on with that or whatever. And I was just like, listen, man, I'm like, you should do the treatments, bro. I'm like, it'll completely change your life, dude. And we had talked about it, and it's like,
I think we talked about it for about a year.
Yeah.
About a year, because he was telling me when you guys were getting going, what you guys had going on, what it was for. And I immediately, having experience with psychedelics, I was like, okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Keep talking to me. And you just kept telling me about the success stories and about just, not even success stories, but just how people are healing themselves. And that's exactly what I was looking for, to try to heal that side of me. So I didn't, I could be my authentic teddy bear self without feeling taken advantage of. You know what I mean? Like, it really helped me align with who I am.
So let's get into that part. So like, what was, when you first came to the clinic, what was your experience? Like when you walked in the door, like, what was it like, man?
I mean, off rip, everybody was welcoming. Everybody was excited to see me in there. Like, it was almost like an applause of welcome, 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 and congratulations. You know what I mean? Like, you are taking the steps to better yourself. And it's been like that every time I go in there. It's a welcome back. How are you? And it's genuine.
You know, I think it's important, and this really goes with like the whole storyline of what we talk about all the time on this show and just in life in general is like, you know, listen, like there were other substances that we don't need to get into and stuff that Roderick and I used to do, and we used to party and stuff like that and recreationally abuse. But like, even when it came to the psychedelics, like we had psychedelic experience. We took a lot of psychedelics together when we were younger, but it was like, it was for a party and there was always drinking involved, and it was always like us turning into nutcases by the end of the night and stuff like that. And it's just like, I guess what I'd like to hear from you is like, what's the difference? So like all of that kind of experience that you had with the different molecules previously, and then coming to the clinic when you ended up doing your first treatment, how was that different for you?
Well, first off, like we just spoke about, the intention. We had intentions on partying. We had intentions on getting wild at some point during the night. Yeah. You know, so in essence, I guess it did exactly what we were wanting it to do. And with coming into the clinic, the intention was for healing. Yeah. The intention was not to go on some psychedelic whirlwind ride and be, you know, hair all messed up and disheveled when you get off, but come off the roller coaster of, I understand now. I get it. I get why this and that. I get why that and this. I understand where I am, who I am.
That's beautiful. So when those feelings of anger come up now, how, for both of you, this is a question for both of you, what is your outlet to help diffuse that? What do you do with those feelings now?
I talk to my anger like someone I hadn't seen in a while, but it's still good to see them. You know,
you sound like Gina. She did a good job.
Yeah, it's not something that I have to run away from. It's not something that I have to control. It's, you're your own entity. How are you? I understand why you're here, but it's not necessary.
We had that conversation the other day after he came out of a treatment, because he came in for a touch-up. And it was just like, he was like, you know, it's still there. Like, I still have anger inside me. And I think to answer your question is, I'm less reactive. I'm very much less reactive, and I'm more in control of my emotions, where I'm not lashing out uncontrollably at people. And I also reminded Roderick, hey man, it's okay. That can be our friend. Because when you take that passion, that fire within you, that heart of the warrior, and you apply it to fighting a positive war or utilizing it for something positive, you know, there's that saying, and we talked about it. It's like, I'd much rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Yeah.
And I've never heard that one.
And I think it's really important. It's like,
what
I get to go towards my passions now and use all of that fire within me to fight for something positive and really utilize that in a very productive way now. Even like when it comes to like, listen, like we ran the streets really hard, and like both of us are very street smart individuals. And I think that being an entrepreneur, that's incredible. And like, I think when you're spiritually minded and you have street smarts and you know how to take that fire within you and harness it and utilize it properly, that you are a force to be reckoned with, that you literally can accomplish anything. And it's harder for people to take like advantage of us and stuff like that because we see it coming from a mile away. I think a lot of people that are very intuitive and have that natural ability to sense that a situation's off, more people are probably tapped into it than they probably know, but people second guess themselves and like, oh no, probably just, and like your initial gut feeling is usually the one that's going to be right. You know,
I've had that experience time and time again, from big decisions to small decisions of whether or not to get over in traffic. You know, that gut feeling. I should have got over.
I'm trying to be that gut decision for him the other day when we were almost late getting Charlie from school. And then I'm like, why did you get in this lane? Yeah. You know, this is the slowest lane.
Yep. It's one of those things, like if you like taking the treatments, going forward, taking the treatments, like I've got in tune with that part, that intuition of even on the minute things, listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, even on it, especially on the big things, but even on the minute things, hey, take this shortcut or get in that lane. All those things are going to contribute to me staying calm, staying focused, because now I'm not worried about, oh man, I should have. Oh man, look at that lane over there. I should have stayed. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm exactly where I need to be.
That's beautifully said. And like we had the conversation the other day too of like, listen, like, you know, we went through a lot and made a lot of decisions that probably weren't very positive when we made them. But like I was telling Roderick, I'm like, we were perfect the whole time, man. The entire time we've always been perfect because we had to go through the dark to get to the light. We had to learn all of those lessons so we could evolve into the people that we are today. And so it's like everything ends up being useful, and you have all of these lessons that you learn from if you take a step back and actually just kind of look at that situation and learn the lesson from it.
So now that you have all these learning lessons, what would be your advice to somebody when they're sitting in traffic and they're getting super mad, or when something comes up that really, really triggers them? What is your advice to that person to help them stay calm?
So like in the synchronicity, or this like symphony of the universe where everything's perfect and it always has been, you could be stuck in traffic, right? And at that moment, you're mad because you're stuck in traffic and you get into your emotions and feelings, but you don't know what God's doing behind the scenes for you, because you don't know that you being stuck there for the extra 5 minutes is preventing you from getting into a head-on accident with somebody that's coming down the road at the other direction. And so one of the most important parts about those kind of parts of life is that be patient and just let everything play out, because you don't know that you might be getting upset about something that might be saving you from something else.
Being patient is really hard for some people, though. So what is their key takeaway that they can do to keep them in that moment of patience and calmness?
Always go back to your breath and like look at the bird's eye view of everything. Get out of the car and sitting behind the wheel and focusing on me being stuck in traffic, and go to that bird's eye view of like, well, God's doing me a favor somehow right now. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know I'm getting saved from something, or this is teaching me the lesson of being patient, or whatever I'm learning from this situation, because there is a lesson attached to everything. What do you think?
I think you're exactly right. Change your focus. You're stuck in traffic and I'm stuck in traffic. Oh, I got to get here. Oh, why is this happening? Why is that person doing this to me? All you're doing is saying me. And you're not being of service. You're not helping anybody. You're not helping the situation. You're not helping yourself. Get out of your own head. Say, thank God I'm alive. Thank God I'm in traffic to be stuck. You know what I mean? Like they say, toss your problems everybody toss their problems on the ground. I bet you pick up your own problems, because you don't want anybody else's. Your problems aren't really problems. They're things that are either taking you towards something or taking you away from something.
Gratitude at its finest. Being grateful for the things that we have, even our problems, because they could be a lot worse. It's funny that you mentioned that, because it's like, we attract what we focus on, right? So if I'm sitting here and I'm focusing on my problems constantly, then I'm going to get more problems.
Definitely.
You know, and it's funny because like you'll think that your problems are so bad, and then you'll be so upset about your problems that God will give you even bigger problems just to show you that your last problems weren't as bad as you thought they were.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Don't tempt him.
No, so it's always like, be grateful for what you have now.
Yeah.
Because listen, things could always get way worse. Or if you go to a place of gratitude, and that's another thing that I think people should focus on, is like, always go to that gratitude list. And I know it sounds cliche and tacky, but the truth is like, did I wake up today? Do I have a roof over my head? Do I have clean water and food to eat? Like all of these small little things that you can focus on that'll put you in a place of gratitude, that will snowball into a place of being more grateful. And then you will get things to be grateful for. I was listening to a guy that used to work for the CIA recently, and he was saying that like in the CIA, they teach you to focus on the small wins, because you like set up these very, very micro goals for yourself. And every time you accomplish one of them, it builds into this snowball effect of you feeling really good and positive about all of these little wins. And so it's like, you have to look at your life like that. Like every little win is adding up into this massive win at the end. And if you keep focused on that, all of the other stuff is just chatter.
I tell our clients that all the time, so I'm glad it's good advice.
For sure. So tell me, man, like, what was one of the most memorable experiences of the journeys that you had when you were at the facility?
Oh man, first off, let's just start with the veil. The veil. When you pierce the veil, first off, when you approach the veil, when you first get that washing feeling over you from the Medicaid, you approach what you call the veil. And the only way I can describe it is something as thin as cellophane, as thin as a sheet of plastic. And there is an experience you have when you touch the plastic. There's an experience you have when you are piercing the membrane of the plastic. And then when you come out on the other side of the veil and you just see what's revealed to you, that feeling of, it's almost like, you ever hear people say when you go to sleep, when you're dreaming, you're actually awake. It's that feeling. You feel your body go to sleep and then you wake up and you're just, I mean, the feeling that I had was like I could feel, like, not emotionally, not physically, but just the experience of being part of everything, everywhere, all at one time. And it just filled me with just a sense of relaxation, rejuvenation. It kind of let me know how connected we all are and how insignificant a lot of the things that we worry about are. Like we talk about the rat race. Like all these things that we've been programmed as human beings to care for on this planet, and, you know, money and power and prestige, whatever the case may be, we're all the same. We're all connected. And if you quiet down all the noise, we can actually hear each other. I had that experience with a person at your clinic the last time I was there. He had an experience. I said 2 words to him. I said, "I am." He looked at me, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. He looked at me. He was just like, "That's what I heard while I was in there." I was like, "Yeah." Told him the same thing. If
You shared an experience with another client that was in a different room?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, he was telling me about
They
his.
were in the integration room together.
Oh.
But he was telling me about his experience. And before he could finish out because he was like, I was talking to God, I was talking to Jesus, and like I had these questions. And he just kept saying like this one thing. And I looked at him, I was like, "I am." And he just froze. He was like, "That's what it was." It's like, I've heard that same message. And it's because we're afraid to ask the question that's on the tip of our tongue, but he's already answering it for us. And it is, are you God? I am.
Yes.
And like the look on that man's face, we shook hands, we hugged, and he was just like, I can't believe, this is my first experience. I can't believe that you actually know that. I was like, that's the experience that I've gotten out of your treatments, is that the noise in your head, it goes away and you can actually hear another person's heart. You can actually talk to that person, talk to the light inside of that person.
That's powerful.
And be received.
Wow. That was money. That was beautiful, man. Heck
You know, I feel like I hear the same, like not the same, like different variations of the same story, and I haven't gotten a new story in a long time, and that was great.
It really was. No, that was like beautiful, man. And like the thing is that it does. It's like we all think it's hard because we get like, even as aware as I am, I still get lost sometimes. Like I'll like have to catch myself for a second. I'll be like, wait, whoa, you almost got sucked back in the matrix there for a second, dude. But it's just like we think that we're so different, but we're not. We're all one. We're all the same. We're all connected. We're all reflections of each other. And I think that that's one of the, actually, no, I know that that's one of the most important things about psychedelic medicines, is that it shows that there's no hierarchy. It shows that nobody's better than anybody else. It doesn't matter how much money you have, what background you come from, where you live, whether you're a man or a woman, anything, is that when you take these compounds and you go to that place where you feel the connectedness and the lack of separation, and you know that we're all one collective consciousness, there's no going back from that. I mean, you might have a blip where you forget about it for a second, but I think that that's what also makes it easier to stay more grounded and level-headed when we have these curveballs from the universe thrown at us, because it's just like, oh man, like this is just a test. It's just a test. How am I going to react towards it this time? Am I ready to level up? And that's why I get more and more excited, even though it's hard sometimes. But like once the storm starts getting thrown at you and you have to go through all of those hoops, you're like, oh man, like something amazing is coming, because this is the universe putting me through that loop again to see if I'm ready to level up or if I have to learn this lesson again.
A lot of lessons been learned. A lot of lessons. I should be a scholar.
You are. Street scholar, life scholar.
I have something like a little dry erase board on my house, and it's just gotten written on it little things either that I've heard, thought of, but it's positive things. And something that Charles has said made the list, and it's been up there now for a couple of years, and it was through suffering comes awakening. And had I not gone through quote unquote suffering the way I had, either actually or perceived, I wouldn't have been pushed to look for the awakening. And now that I'm awake, it's like there is no guessing, or like I know. You know what I mean? Like I know everything that I do is a decision. I'm not forced to do anything. It's me. I'm in control of this. So good decision, that was me. Bad decision, that was also me. And taking accountability for that is bigger than anything else, I think.
Yeah.
Because you can recognize, like, you don't have to go back and say, man, blame somebody else for whatever situation you were in, because you are the orchestrator of it.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing that we see with people. The people that do really good are the ones that are able to take accountability and ownership for their shit. And the ones that don't have as great of results like to point fingers of why everyone else is the blame in their story for why they're not succeeding. When if they just took the reins and was like, okay, this is what I need to fix, this is what I need to do, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
They would 10 times their results. But when you're stuck in that victim mode, it's always harder.
Yeah, I mean, I was of a mind of, oh, this is going to fix me. This is going to fix me. But that was not the case at all. It gave me a hammer and said, go build a house. It gives you the tools. It gives you every tool that you need. Here it is. But I'm not gonna, and there it is for you. Go build it.
It's the beginning of the journey.
Yes.
The
Makes you accountable. It's the catalyst, and it makes you accountable. Like Rod was just talking about, my entire life, anytime I'd get into trouble, anytime that something would go badly, it wasn't my fault. Like, oh man, the cops shouldn't have ran up on me. Or like, I wasn't even doing anything wrong. It's like,
Okay, Charles.
if you weren't doing anything wrong, you would have gotten in trouble, man. You know, but it's like, it was always somebody else's fault. It was never my fault. And once, and like, as funny as it sounds, because when people think psychedelics, they don't like think it's going to make something profound like this happen. But like Rod was just saying, I was like, oh man, like you were doing this to yourself the whole time, and there's nobody else to blame from you but you. So now that you're aware of this and you're holding yourself accountable, what are you going to do about it? Because nobody else is here to save you but you, bro. And like, I think that that's one of the real important things that psychedelics taught me, is that if I am manifesting my own reality and nobody's going to ensure or give me a good life with success, not only monetarily, but like with my relationships and like me being a father and me being a significant spouse or a good spouse to my wife or anything like that, like I need to make those things happen. And if I do make a mistake, I need to take accountability from that, learn the lessons, and make sure that next time I show up, I don't repeat the same action. Because this is the evolution. And like, I don't want to have to sit here and keep on learning the same lessons over and over again. I was caught in that loop of my life for 20 years straight, and I was miserable. And it wasn't until I took action that my life actually started getting better. And that psychedelics did that for me too, was like you saying it gave me the hammer. It didn't fix my life. It showed me how I was screwing my life up and what I needed to do to stop being caught in that loop, to stop with that action, you know? And I think that that's really important for people, is to actually get that message and like be shown what they need to fix.
Yeah, because a lot of people walk around, they say, oh, I think I know what I need to do. I think I should probably do this. I think I should probably do that. Once you come out of the treatment, especially after a few treatments in, like, you know, the mystery is over. You know what you need to go do.
Now what are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
That's the hardest part for a lot of people is.
Yes, it's getting out of the idea phase into the action phase. And it's tough because you're fighting sometimes 20, 30 years of learned behaviors. And you're trying to rectify them, you know, quote unquote, a few treatments, but are you really putting in the work mentally?
It's like psychedelic experiences are like God giving you a playbook. It's like you're playing sports, right? You're playing football, you're in this game, right? And there's no coach, so everything's disorganized, you're not getting anywhere, you're not scoring any touchdowns, nothing's moving forward, everything's just a mess, right? And then all of a sudden you have this profound psychedelic experience, and now God comes in the game and says, here's the playbook.
Yeah.
All right? Here's how you're going to get to the touchdown, and here's what you need to do to get there. But now it's time for you to get back up off the bench with the playbook and run the plays.
Yeah.
Because you can keep getting the same message, or you can get the message, but until you apply the action behind that message, you're never going to score the touchdown.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he'll let you run that play as many times as it takes. Go out there and run your play. Until you take this playbook with you, like you said, until you take it with you, you're just going to keep getting stopped. But keep going. Eventually you'll get it. We all hope.
You know, it's like you got that saying, you ain't got none but time here. You ain't got none but time, right?
Yeah.
Well, like in the big scheme of things, yeah, we can literally do this forever.
Yeah.
Because like if we are, there is no separation and we are this consciousness, it's like, it's not going to just end up happening. We're going to end up having to run the play.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what I think the message is like,
Do the work.
Do the work.
You have to do the work. I mean, and the work's going to come in many different forms. For me, working on my temper, it's staying present. It's being present, like you said, respond and don't react. So I have to be there in order to do that. I can't be daydreaming, somewhere else and get sideswiped by something that could be a trigger for me. And it's not as a daunting task as it may sound. It's just being present in today.
Love that.
So, what's your big takeaway? Being present in today.
Legalize it. No, this I can't say enough about what you guys have done for me at the clinic. Like I feel like myself. My takeaway is just, if you're having trouble, if you've gone through anything traumatic, whether it be big or small, if you're having self-doubts, if your dreams didn't work out the way you think that they should have, take the treatments. Go find out. It's all inside you.
Love it. All right.
That was another amazing show. Thank you for being so
you for
raw
having
and
me.
open and real and storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank goodness we didn't get too in depth. We might have scared the audience.
Yeah. All of our subscribers might have just gone away.
None of this can be used in the court of law. I said it.
Yeah.
I already said it.
Okay, thank you.
All of this was for entertainment purposes.
Only.
Only. All right. Well, listen.
Nobody's told you that they love you lately.
We do.